Thank you. Good afternoon. Hi, I'm Janelle Anderson. I'm the CEO of Fresh Vine Wine. That is Julianne Hough and Nina Jabrov, our celebrity co-founders. Now, when my mom talks about the wine and gives the wine card to her friends, they like to say, "Oh, which one's your daughter? She's so pretty." I'm like, no, those are the celebrities. But I am the CEO, and I'm delighted to talk about Fresh Vine Wine today, and really for a few reasons. Number one is that wine can be very complex, but in so many ways, this is a very simple business model. We have a unique product with a point of differentiation. We have an emerging category within a giant $69 billion category. And we have two amazing celebrity co-founders that we can build this on. So a lot of exciting news here. Forward-looking statement, I'm sure you've seen some of those today. I won't go through it, of course, with you, but it is there. But what's our vision? We at Fresh Vine Wine want to be the leading premium wine in the lower sugar, carb, and cal segment. It's for active, trend-setting lifestyles. And we actually did an IPO in December, and we launched, and we are now live on the New York Stock Exchange. Vine is our ticker. We have 12.5 million shares outstanding, and we're growing by the day. Currently 16 employees. Investor highlights. So this is where I could go on and on this page for days, but because we only have 25 minutes, I'll hit some high points, right? Better for you category. It's an emerging category in wine. It exists in every other category. Think about beer. I mean, how many of you drink a light beer once a year or a low carb beer, right? How many of you drink a diet soda or a zero calorie soda, right? 47% of those categories, 42% of those categories. It doesn't exist yet in wine, but is just emerging. The low sugar wine category grew 438% last year in Nielsen. So this is the right place to play. Huge market, 69 billion in the US, 53 billion of that is produced domestically. It's highly fragmented. So it's easy to go take a chunk out of it, and you don't need to win 50% of the market share. You just need to take a big bite to have a big company. We have this great celebrity affinity. Our two celebrities combined have 30 million Instagram followers. We actually built this brand on their back. Before IPO, we hadn't spent $1 in marketing. It was solely built on them, their Instagram. They're highly invested in the company. They're co-founders. They're still involved. In fact, Nina runs our social media for us. We have leading distributors. Any of you who know wine know that the distribution network, you have to go through what we call the 3-tier system. We have 4 of the big 5 national distributors, which is kind of a miracle in some ways, right? A lot of people say it takes years to do that. We did it in 8 months. So we can national distribution. We're an asset-light model. We're actually not farmers. We source our grapes. We source our bottling. We don't own the capital. That allows us to be agile and nimble. And we have an incredibly strong management team. We didn't source from just one industry. Our CFO, our newly appointed CFO is over here. She's 20 years of public company CFO. I'm 20 plus years of marketing. We have a strategist who came from strategy consulting. We have people who came out of wine. We have people who came out of Anheuser-Busch. So we have the whole strong management team with different perspectives. So what is the wine industry? Like I mentioned, it's $69 billion in the US, right? A great big industry to play in. Globally, it's even bigger, $340 billion. What's important about the wine industry is you may look at overviews and say, oh, wine isn't that exciting. It's only growing 1 to 3%. But that is not true in the premium segment. The premium segment where we play is growing incredibly quickly. Those are price points between $15 and $25. You can see here 24 to 30% growth in the last year. So you see those are our price points. We intentionally are growing and positioned in the price points that are growing, and retailers love that about us. Better for you. This is what I was talking about at the very outset, right? 70% of consumers in America will say, I'm either concerned or trying to reduce sugar. I mean, how many people in here are trying to increase sugar? Anybody? Of course not, right? Everybody is trying to reduce sugar, and then you see these categories growing out of that. White Claw grew out of that, right, in the alcohol category. Now, the difference in White Claw is while it's lower sugar and calorie, it's also very low alcohol, so 4.5 points of ABV. Now, you have to drink 4 of those to get to 1 glass of wine. So In wine math, you're actually not saving yourself many sugars or calories or carbs that way in the end. But certainly we are positioned against that kind of need in the marketplace for a lower sugar product, yet we are premium. Our winemaker will always say taste first, better for you, health objectives second. So what are we all about? We are about that product differentiation, right? There are some others in the marketplace that have come across this. You may have tried some. Not to disparage the competition, but I dare anyone to do a Pepsi challenge with ours versus theirs. We will blow away the taste profile because our winemaker really does take his job very, very seriously, and others don't have the winemaker. So we have the superior balance. Right now we have 4 varietals in the marketplace, more to come this year. But we are about less sugar, less carbon, less cal, but a delightful product, and people keep coming back to it. We have strong repeat in direct-to-consumer channel. Over 60%, in fact, even beyond our wine club. So that is excluding the wine club, who obviously are subscription-based. Why is this? It's, again, our winemaker. His name is Jamie Whetstone. Those of you familiar with Napa may know him, or friends of yours that are familiar with Napa will know of him. He trained both in France and in Napa, and so he understands winemaking, and that's how we get to this proprietary taste profile without having to spin out alcohol or water it down. And our co-founders, if you guys don't know them well, I mean, what I would say about Nina is she stands for fashion trends. She's the face of Dior globally. If you land in JFK as an example, she's all over that airport. She has graced the cover of every fashion magazine. When we did our initial photo shoot, the dress she wore, a Valentino dress, which was outrageously priced, sold out in days. You cannot get it anymore. She is about fashion. Julianne is the trendsetter in health and wellness, whether that's physical or mental. She has been on the cover of every health and wellness. Many of you probably know her from Dancing with the Stars. Last week, she just launched a new show on Broadway as well, so very relevant in the marketplace. Nina's actually #2 on the celebrity scale right now in terms of popularity. So both of them are continuing to be very prominent in the marketplace. And they're very engaged, as I said at the outset, in this business. Alcohol, you may have heard a few of these guys, right? You may have seen some of these sell. Alcohol and celebrities is a trend that has been very positive, right? Diageo bought George Clooney's Casamigos for $1 billion on very low case counts. Ryan Reynolds, you may have heard about Aviator Gin, built solely on his social media platform before he sold, and so on and so forth. So this is a trend we believe not only from the celebrity side, but because marketing is done through social media, is going to continue, and we don't think it's just a fad. It is the true power of social media behind these brands. And so we are positioned as an affordable luxury, right? We are a brand that we're focused on this segment. Currently, we over-index with ages 21 to 55 adults, that's both male and female, annual income over $100,000. So we are indeed targeting that demographic and doing really well against that demographic. And, you know, we will have mass appeal. Wine in general has mass appeal, but we will continue to pursue this target market. And, you know, we love it because they're large, young, affluent, and active. So what's our growth strategy, right? So that's our proposition and product and proposition, but what's our growth strategy? It's really pretty simple. There's 2 objectives: drive awareness and drive distribution. So I'm going to talk a little bit about both. So driving awareness, right? Our business plan here is quite simple. Right now, we had built the brand just on the back of the Instagram followers, but there is a whole universe out there beyond those 30 million Instagram followers that they have that's probably not heard of Fresh Vine Wine. So that really leads us to our paid social media plan, Google search, all those things that we just began to turn on in February of this year. So we have an aggressive marketing strategy. We feel great that it will continue to drive growth for this brand in the future. So again, not only are there the 30 million followers, which we'll continue to leverage. You see here, we've done everything from the Ellen Show to the closing bell ceremony for our IPO day, and continuing to use their Instagram. But we also know that there's lookalike audiences and people who are interested in wine that should be up to 100 million followers. So we believe we have a lot of runway to grow on this brand. March, we just turned on, like I said, paid social media to amplify and display. If you search Fresh Vine, we will eventually stalk you on the internet and track you down until you buy some wine, and then we may stalk you some more until you buy some more wine, but that is the goal of our media plan, to keep driving that awareness. We also have in-store POS tools that allow us to really drive sell-through. What you see here is a few things. Obviously, we love cardboard that holds product. I spent 15 years at PepsiCo. I know that if you trip over the product, you're likely to buy the product, and that is that simple, and I love that playbook, and that's part of ours, as is in-store education. So in terms of really teaching that shopper and that consumer what's different about our wine, and you can see here that whether it's a neck rider, which is the piece at the bottom, or a shelf talker, we have QR codes that really allow you to go in and investigate the wine compared to other wines to say how much less sugar, carbon, and calories. It gives you tasting notes to reinforce the premium positioning of the wine, and we'll continue to use those QR codes across all of in-store media as well to really educate the consumer on this product. So we want to be disruptive, right? So we started as this little wine company, female-founded, female-run, a lot of things disruptive about that. But also we want to grow faster than other wine companies have grown. So our goal is to really do what others have done over the course of many years, much more quickly than that. We do that by being disruptive. We aren't willing to say we're just going to wait for Southern, despite them being a great partner in 22 of our states. We're not going to wait. We're also going to go top to top at our retail levels. We're going to re-educate consumers about this category, like I said, through the QR codes. And then we're going to use social media and contests to crowdsource. So we have a contest upcoming that's basically saying, hey, consumer, go in and tell your local retailer that you want them to carry a Fresh Vine wine for a chance to win a trip to see Nina and Jules and do a party with them in LA. So, you know, we're doing all things that are disruptive to the marketplace and disruptive to wine. Second business objective is distribution, right? Like I said, 2 business objectives: awareness, distribution. Second one is this. So how do you get to consumer demand? Well, you really want to ensure that you've got broader distribution. The first step of that is the wholesale agreements, and I'll walk a little bit through that, because the wholesale allows you to get to retail shelves, which is important. We call those shelf points of distribution. So if I sit on a shelf with 1 SKU at Target, that's 1 point of distribution. If I had 4 SKUs at Target in one Target store, that would be 4 points of distribution. So what does that really mean? So 2 distribution channels: wholesale, retail distribution, which really covers both restaurants and retailers. Everything from Walmart all the way down to your independent corner liquor store is covered under that side of the house. And then we've got our e-commerce side, which is our direct-to-consumer, freshvinewine.com, and as well as, you know, wine.com, which we launched with last week, the other e-commerce channels, which we're working on to come as well. National distribution, I don't know if any of you are familiar with this, but there is a lot of regulation around alcohol and wine. We are partnered, like I said, with 4 of the 5 biggest distributors in the country, which allows us to essentially have national coverage. I think it's a testament to our wine that we did that so quickly, and that these big distributors were interested in a very small wine company because they love the proposition. When I go to retailers, most of them say, wait, you did that in 8 months? I've never heard of that. Congratulations. How did you do that? And that is really because the product makes sense, the product is great, and people are getting behind it. So we're rapidly adding these points of distribution. You know, this is for us a key input measure. So last year when we IPO'd, we had about 900 points of retail distribution. In Q1, we've more than doubled that. We're now at 1,900. You can see this hockey stick, which should make anyone that is a potential investor awfully happy. I know it makes me as the CEO incredibly happy. And how are we doing that? Again, through a number of things. We launched a few weeks back in Resort World, which is the newest casino on the Vegas Strip. We're in 22 locations within Resort World. We're at a number of Total Wines nationally approved, but those are individual sales, so you got to go to each one individually and get the product in, but we're well on our way to over 200 Total Wines already. You see 7-Eleven, we launched a test market in California with 2 SKUs that are actually in the official planogram for California, authorized in 1,600 stores there. Again, we're in the process of getting the wine into all those stores. You see these others there, Lunds Byerly's, Crave, which is a upscale restaurant chain in the Midwest. So we are really attacking this, whether it's restaurants, casinos, or traditional, what we call on-premise grocery stores and retail. And then, of course, we have direct-to-consumer sales. This is how we launched our brand. We launched during COVID, so certainly direct-to-consumer was the right place to launch during the COVID. And we offer wine club memberships, 3 different tiers of wine club memberships. What you can sell also by the bottle. You can do gift packs, things like that. We do email campaigns out of that as well. You see some other e-commerce platforms that we've partnered with in wine.com or Vivino. If you go into Vivino, I don't know if any of you are Vivino users, but we have exceptional ratings on all of our wines in Vivino, and I would ask you just to go look up what the ratings are on our wine, Fresh Vine, Fit Vine, which is probably the closest health and wellness competitor, and then Josh, who's probably the biggest competitor in our price tier. And I am happy to say we do exceptionally well against all of those on Vivino, and that's crowdsourced. So that's not just me here saying that to you, that is a true crowdsource, how the wine is performing in the marketplace. What I want you to also do here is you see freshvinewine.com. If you go in, there's a promotional code that will work through April 30th, Noble20, all capital letters, allows you to order the wine for a 20% discount, and if you order more than 3 bottles, you also get free shipping, so it's nearly free to try for all of you. So make sure you go and order some, because I do really think that taste is proof of the story I'm telling. So how's our recent performance been? Well, we had an IPO, as I mentioned, in December, and we've used the capital for really 3 sources. The funding went to, number 1, turning on paid marketing, and we'll continue to ramp up investment there. Talent, we needed to hire a lot more sales force, build out our finance team, which is why Ellen is our new CFO, and then build inventory. Last year we actually impeded our own sales a little bit because we ran out of wine 4 times. The IPO really allowed us to be funded to make sure that we could cover all these things going forward. So we raised $22 million after debt and bank fees. We had about $17 million left to invest in these places in our business. And so year over year, we just launched our first year over year revenue. We filed our 10K and, grew 681% year over year, so a good start. Now, and I will say, that's even before we really made the investments from the IPO, because our IPO closed December 14th, so it was very late in the year. Right now we have an incredible channel mix of both wholesale and DTC. We expect over time the retail side of that, the wholesale side of that will be bigger than DTC, and you'll see that change over time this year, but we feel great. I'd mentioned points of distribution as a leading indicator metric going into inputs. What else we're excited about? We purposely built a talent team and an executive management team that didn't have just all wine background, didn't have just one background. Damien, who's one of our co-founders, has been 30 years of startups to profitable growth. I have spent more than 20 years in marketing at both PepsiCo and American Airlines, leading functions, the marketing functions there. Rick Nescio, who has done 22 years in both international and worked for ABI, actually launched Michelob Ultra, so he understands that low carb insight very well. Excuse me. Mike Fine, who leads our sales team, has had over 30 years of wine sales, so he's our industry insider. Elliot, who's also here today, leads our corporate development, and he comes from the strategic consulting side. And then Ellen, who's got 20 years of public company CFO experience. So not only do we have this great product, this emerging category, these celebrities that build our brand, we've now got funding to do it and a management team that we believe can just blow the doors off this and really take that #1 position in the better for you category of wine. So that is it for me. I'll flip it back to the investor highlights so that you guys can kind of see the overview again. But that is Fresh Vine Wine in a really quick overview, and I'll leave the rest of the time for any questions you may have. Certainly.
Could you please talk about your strategy for getting into the big box retailers, Walmart, Target, Whole Foods of the world? Do you think that's important? And then what is your strategy for getting into that space?
Yes, I'll repeat the question for the question was, what is our strategy for big box retailers? How are you going to get into the Walmarts, the Targets? Is it important? and how you're going to do it. So yes, we think it's incredibly important. That's a lot of points of distribution. And we are currently in process talking to many of those big box retailers. They have resets about twice a year. There's a fall and a spring reset. So we're in a lot of conversations about the fall reset now. And I think you'll see us have some pretty big news coming out with some big box retailers coming up here in the future. And yes, it's important, right? You land some big ones like a Target, a Whole Foods, and the rest of the market follows, right? Those that are the innovators are incredibly important. So how we're going to do it is we're going in and we're having conversations like we're having today. This is the proposition. We're here to partner. We're also here to say we're invested in this not just to get it onto shelf, but to make sure it pulls through and to apply some of those marketing dollars that the IPO funding will go to towards shopper marketing, to that pull through, not just the mass market, but actually down to a retail level where we're actually partnering with them to ensure it pulls off their shelves. Thank you. Yeah. Did we bring you any wine? So interestingly, we did, but it's been lost on this giant campus of these two hotels. So if anyone has their running shoes on, there is wine here somewhere, but it is not physically where we are, unfortunately. Oh, good news. Yeah. Okay, what's your other question?
What news release would help with the share price? Would it be the big box?
Yeah, the question is what news release would help boost the share price? Would it be the big box? Yes, and I think there's a combination. I don't think it's a silver bullet. This is an investment stock. This is not going to be one that turns overnight because it is a ramp up. Now, we feel really good that it's going to be an accelerated ramp up, but I would say there is big announcements of partnerships with retail, with other e-commerce, and then when you see Q1 earnings, which will be released in May, I think that will be a big boost to the stock price as well. Yeah, what are the biggest risks of the supply chain and how we might maintain it? So one of the things we did this year with the capital from the IPO is to invest ahead in our inventory because we were concerned about supply chain, particularly glass had been a problem in the wine industry. We definitely have invested ahead in our inventory to make sure that we feel that we've mitigated all risk for 2022. And so we feel really good about that. Now, are we immune to other supply chain issues? Of course not. Like if gas continues to go up and FedEx and UPS won't ship things, we will not be immune to that. But where we can mitigate, things like glass, supply chain, grapes, we've mitigated those already. Yeah. Okay, the question is generally around the path to profitability, EBITDA, things like that. Obviously, we don't give forward-looking statements, right? But we do feel that with, our strategy is about accelerating the top-line growth. And unlike other companies who maybe took a really long time to get to profitability, we believe by infusing the capital, trying to disrupt the market in every way we can get that top-line accelerating much faster. So that's kind of step one to that is really drive that top line. And then as the top line goes, we're asset light. So because we're not farmers, because we don't own the bottling facility, it allows us to get to profitability as quickly as possible within the context of wine. Yeah.
My question is more about distributors as opposed to distribution.
Okay.
As you grow, as you scale from where you are now into a national, of course, multinational company, this is what you're talking about right now. How is it, what do you have planned in dealing with some of these distribution companies? As some of these markets are really difficult to get in as a new product, even with the celebrity.
Yeah, good question. The question was, how do you deal with the distributors, not just distribution, which is, distinct in wine, as you're alluding to there, is you have to go through what's called the 3-tier distribution system, and not everybody has a license to do that. There are only call it 50 companies in the whole US that do that. Now, if I flip back, I will share again our slide. I went through it very quickly, but this is our distribution network. Everything in red, we're with Southern Glacier, and Southern Glacier is the biggest in the United States. So 22 markets with them. They were thrilled to get us as a partner despite us being small. We are also with, Johnson Brothers, Horizon, R&DC, Opeachy, and so we've really been able to partner with some of these big distributors because the proposition is so unique and because they believe there's going to be growth in this part of the wine market. So, they're always looking for the high growth aspects to come in, and that's where we've really been successful. And that's the key then to getting that big box retail and all the other things we've discussed.
So you work with the one in red relationship now, and you've had leverage to get into some of those more difficult markets.
Yeah, well, you can see the coverage here. We're in, we have a distributor partner in all states except 2, and we have pending agreements in those 2 white states. So, R&DC is green here, so on down the list. You probably can't see it very well from back there, but no, we have national coverage because we're with so many of the big ones already. We have 2 states where we're just finalizing the agreement. Oh, and I'm getting the no more from the back of the room. The questions are done. But I will be out in the foyer if you want to ask more questions. Trust me, I can talk about wine and this company all day long. So thank you for attending. Thanks for your questions. Look forward to more.